It was a quiet night at the Global Space Observation Center, GSOC, in Houston, Texas. Dr. Sarah Chen, the lead astrophysicist, was about to end her shift when a series of unusual beeps caught her attention. She pushed her long black hair behind her ears and leaned closer to the monitor, her eyes widening with each passing second. "Hey, Mike, come take a look at this," she called out to her colleague, Dr. Michael Rodriguez, who was busy making coffee in the break room. Mike hurried over, his steaming mug forgotten on the counter. "What's up, Sarah?" Sarah pointed at the screen, her finger tracing the strange pattern of signals. "I've never seen anything like this before. It's not following any known celestial pattern." Mike's brow furrowed as he studied the readout. "You're right. This is bizarre. Where's it coming from?" Sarah tapped a few keys, bringing up a star map. "Somewhere in the Andromeda Galaxy, as far as I can tell. But that's impossible, isn't it? We don't have the technology to receive signals from that far away." The two scientists exchanged worried glances. This was way beyond their usual scope of work. Mike reached for the red phone on the wall, the one they were told to use only in case of extraordinary events. Within an hour, the GSOC was buzzing with activity. Scientists from various disciplines poured in, their excited chatter filling the air. Dr. James Hartford, the director of GSOC, stood at the center of it all, his usually calm demeanor replaced by barely contained excitement. "Ladies and gentlemen," he addressed the room, his voice cutting through the noise. "We may be on the brink of the most significant discovery in human history. Let's approach this methodically." Teams were quickly formed. Some worked on pinpointing the exact origin of the signal, while others focused on decoding its contents. Days turned into weeks, and the news of the mysterious signal spread like wildfire across the globe. Speculation ran rampant, from doomsday predictions to hopeful theories about alien contact. It was Dr. Chen who finally cracked the code. She burst into the main conference room where Dr. Hartford was briefing government officials. "We've done it," she exclaimed, out of breath from running. "We've decoded the message." The room fell silent as Sarah connected her tablet to the main screen. A series of symbols appeared, slowly transforming into English text as the translation program did its work. "SOS, fleet stranded, critical systems failing, request immediate assistance, coordinates attached." The implications of the message sank in. This wasn't just any signal from space. It was a distress call from an alien civilization. Dr. Hartford was the first to break the stunned silence. "Get me the Secretary General of the UN. Now." Within hours, an emergency meeting of the United Nations Space Agency, UNSA, was convened. Representatives from every nation gathered in New York, their faces a mix of fear, excitement, and disbelief. As Dr. Hartford presented the findings to the Assembly, debates erupted. Some nations advocated for caution, fearing a potential threat to Earth. Others saw this as an unprecedented opportunity for advancement. The Chinese delegates stood up. "How do we know this isn't a trap? We should prioritize our own planet's safety." "But if they wanted to harm us, why ask for help?" The delegate from India countered. "This could be our chance to prove humanity's worth on a cosmic scale." As arguments flew back and forth, a young scientist from Kenya, Dr. Amina Okello, requested to speak. Her voice, though soft, carried a weight that silenced the room. "Distinguished delegates," she began, her eyes scanning the room. "Throughout our history, humanity has faced countless challenges. Each time, we had a choice: to cower in fear or to reach out with courage and compassion. Today, we face the greatest challenge yet. A civilization, possibly far more advanced than our own, is asking for our help. This is our moment to show the universe what humanity truly stands for." Her words resonated with many in the room. Slowly, the mood began to shift. The UNSA chief, after hours of deliberation, called for a vote. The results were clear. Earth would answer the call. As news spread across the globe, a wave of unity washed over humanity. For the first time in history, every nation, every person, was united in a single purpose: to reach out and help those in need, even if they came from the stars. The greatest adventure in human history was about to begin. The world was in a frenzy. News of the alien distress call had leaked, and people everywhere were talking about it. Some were scared, some were excited, but everyone had an opinion. In New York, the United Nations building was surrounded by crowds. People held signs that said things like, "Help our space friends," and "Earth first." No alien contact. The noise was deafening. Inside, things weren't much calmer. World leaders had gathered for an emergency meeting. The room was tense. Everyone knew they had to make a big decision, and fast. U.S. President Sarah Thompson stood up. She looked tired but determined. "We've all seen the data," she said. "This is real. There's a fleet of alien ships out there, and they need our help. The question is, what do we do about it?" The room erupted in argument. The Russian president, Viktor Volkov, banged his fist on the table. "This could be a trick," he shouted. "How do we know these aliens aren't planning to invade us?" "But what if they're not?" said Prime Minister Yuki Tanaka of Japan. Her voice was calm but firm. "What if they really need our help? Can we live with ourselves if we ignore them?" Back and forth it went. Some leaders wanted to send help right away. Others wanted to ignore the call completely. A few even suggested preparing for war, just in case. As the debate raged on, Dr. James Hartford from GSOC was called to speak. He cleared his throat nervously. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "I understand your concerns, but let me tell you what we've learned about this signal." He explained how the message showed signs of desperation, how the alien technology, while advanced, seemed to be failing. "In many ways," he said, "they remind me of early human explorers. Brave, but in over their heads. They need our help." His words made an impact, but many were still unsure. That's when an unexpected voice spoke up. It was Father Miguel Souza, a Catholic priest who had been invited as a spiritual advisor. "My friends," he said softly, "I've been listening to you all, and I can't help but think of a story, the story of the Good Samaritan." He paused, looking around the room. A stranger, hurt and in need, ignored by many who passed by. But one person stopped to help, despite their differences. "Isn't that who we want to be as a species?" His words seemed to change the mood in the room. People started nodding, looking at each other with new understanding. But it was the speech of Dr. Amina Okello, the young Kenyan scientist, that finally tipped the scales. She stood up, her voice strong and clear. "I grew up in a small village," she said. "We didn't have much. But when a neighbor was in trouble, we helped. No questions asked. That's what made us human." She looked around the room, meeting each leader's eyes. "Now we have neighbors calling from the stars. Will we answer, or will we turn our backs?" Her words hung in the air. For a moment, there was silence. Then, slowly, people began to nod, to smile, to look at each other with hope. President Thompson stood up again. "I think we've heard enough," she said. "It's time to vote. All in favor of sending a mission to help the alien fleet, raise your hand." Hands went up. Not all at once, but one by one, until finally, almost every hand in the room was raised. The decision was made. Humanity would answer the call. As the news spread, something amazing happened. People around the world came together. Scientists offered their skills. Engineers volunteered to help build the ship. Regular people donated money to fund the mission. For the first time in a long time, the whole world was united. They had a common goal: to reach out and help those in need, even if those in need came from another world. As night fell, Dr. Sarah Chen stood outside GSOC, looking up at the stars. She thought about the alien fleet out there, waiting for help. And she smiled, feeling proud to be human. The greatest adventure in human history was about to begin, and Sarah couldn't wait to be part of it. The decision was made. Now, the real work began. All around the world, The best and brightest minds came together. They had one goal: to build a spaceship that could reach the stranded alien fleet. At the newly built Global Space Innovation Center in Tokyo, Dr. Sarah Chen stood in front of a massive whiteboard. It was covered in complex equations and rough sketches. She turned to face a room full of engineers and scientists from every corner of the Earth. "All right, team," she said, her voice firm but excited. "We have 6 months to build the most advanced spaceship in human history. Let's get to work." The room buzzed with energy. People from different countries, speaking different languages, all working together. It was a sight that would have seemed impossible just a few months ago. In one corner, a team of Indian and Russian engineers argued over propulsion systems. In another, Chinese and American scientists debated the best way to protect the ship from space radiation. It wasn't always easy, but they were making progress. Meanwhile, in a high-tech facility in the Sahara Desert, astronaut training was in full swing. Captain Maya Patel, a former fighter pilot from the UK, led the potential crew through grueling exercises. "Faster," she shouted as they ran laps in heavy spacesuits. "The aliens won't wait for you to catch your breath." The trainees pushed themselves harder. They knew only the best would be chosen for the mission. One day, as they took a water break, a young astronaut named Carlos Rodriguez approached Maya. "Captain," he said, breathless, "do you really think we can do this? Save an alien civilization?" Maya looked at him, her eyes serious. "I don't know, Carlos, but I know we have to try. That's what makes us human." Back in New York, the United Nations had set up a special committee to handle the diplomatic side of things. They faced a unique challenge. How do you prepare to talk to a species you've never met? Dr. Amina Okello, now a key member of the committee, sat in a room with linguists, anthropologists, and diplomats. They were trying to create a basic communication protocol. "We need to assume nothing," Amina said. "Their way of thinking could be completely different from ours. We need to be ready for anything." As the months passed, progress was made. The ship, named Horizon, began to take shape in a massive hangar in Brazil. It was a marvel of human engineering, combining technologies from dozens of countries. But it wasn't just the scientists and engineers who were working hard. All around the world, ordinary people were doing their part. Children held bake sales to raise money for the mission. Retired mechanics offered their skills to help build equipment. Farmers donated food to feed the hardworking teams. There were setbacks, of course. A crucial engine test failed, setting the project back by weeks. Political tensions flared up now and then. But each time, the team pulled together and found a solution. As the launch date approached, excitement built around the world. The crew was chosen. 5 astronauts from 5 continents. Captain Maya Patel would lead them. On the night before the launch, Dr. Sarah Chen stood in front of the completed Horizon. It gleamed under the bright lights of the hangar, a testament to what humanity could achieve when they worked together. Sarah thought about the journey ahead, the dangers, the unknowns, the possibility of failure. But she also thought about the aliens waiting for help and the chance to make history. A hand on her shoulder startled her. It was Dr. James Hartford, smiling proudly. "It's time, Sarah," he said. "Let's show the universe what humanity can do." Sarah nodded, feeling a mix of fear and excitement. Tomorrow, they would reach for the stars, and nothing would ever be the same again. The day had finally arrived. Horizon stood tall on the launch pad, gleaming in the early morning sun. Millions of people around the world watched on screens, holding their breath. Inside the ship, Captain Maya Patel looked at her crew. There was Dr. Sarah Chen, the brilliant scientist from China. Next to her sat Carlos Rodriguez, the young pilot from Brazil. Across from them were Dr. Kwame Osai, the medical officer from Ghana, and Svetlana Ivanova, the engineer from Russia. Maya's voice was steady as she spoke. "Remember your training. Remember why we're here. Let's make humanity proud." The countdown began. 10, 9, 8. On the ground, Dr. James Hartford watched nervously. He thought of all the work, all the hopes riding on this mission. 3, 2, 1. With a roar that shook the earth, Horizon lifted off. Flames erupted from its engines as it pushed against gravity, climbing higher and higher. Inside, the crew felt the intense pressure. Maya gripped her controls tightly, her eyes fixed on the readings in front of her. Stage 1 separation successful, she reported. As Horizon broke through the atmosphere, a cheer went up in mission control. The first hurdle was cleared. But the real journey was just beginning. Once they were safely in orbit, Sarah unbuckled and floated to a window. The sight of Earth below took her breath away. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "Day, it is," Svetlana agreed, joining her. "But we have a long way to go." Over the next few days, the crew settled into a routine. They ran system checks, conducted experiments, and prepared for the long journey ahead. Earth grew smaller behind them as they ventured deeper into space. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. On the 5th day, alarms blared through the ship. Red lights flashed everywhere. "What's happening?" Carlos yelled over the noise. Svetlana's fingers flew over her console. Micrometeorite. It's damaged one of our solar panels." Maya's training kicked in. "Quaim, check for hull breaches." "Carlos, adjust our course." "Svetlana, see if you can reroute power." "Sarah, help where needed." The next hour was tense as the crew worked to stabilize the ship. Finally, Svetlana looked up with a tired smile. "We're okay. Power levels are returning to normal." As the adrenaline wore off, the reality of their situation sank in. They were alone out here. If something went wrong, there was no quick rescue. That night, though in space, day and night were meaningless, the crew gathered in the common area. The mood was somber. "Maybe we bit off more than we can chew," Carlos said quietly. Maya looked at each of her crew members. "Listen," she said, "what we're doing isn't easy. It's never been done before. But think about those aliens out there, waiting for help. We're their only hope. We can't give up." Her words seemed to lift everyone's spirits. Quaim even managed to joke, and soon they were all laughing, the tension broken. As weeks turned into months, the crew faced other challenges. Equipment malfunctions, the psychological stress of confinement, moments of doubt. But they also had moments of wonder. They saw stars and planets up close, witnessed cosmic events no human had ever seen before. They stayed in contact with Earth when they could, sending back data and receiving messages of support. But as they got further away, the messages became delayed. They truly were on their own. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Sarah's instruments picked up something. I think we're here," she said, her voice filled with excitement and fear. The crew rushed to the windows. And there, in the distance, they saw it. A fleet of massive ships, unlike anything they'd ever seen. The alien fleet they'd come so far to help. Maya took a deep breath. "All right, team. This is it. Let's make first contact." As Horizon approached the alien fleet, the crew felt a mix of emotions. Fear, excitement, curiosity. They had traveled further than any humans in history. Now, they were about to meet beings from another world. Whatever happened next would change everything. For them, for Earth, for the entire universe. The greatest adventure in human history was about to enter its next chapter. Horizon slowly approached the massive alien fleet. The human crew stared in awe at the strange ships. They were huge, easily 10 times the size of Horizon, with smooth, curved surfaces that seemed to shimmer with an otherworldly light. Captain Maya Patel's voice was steady as she spoke into the comm system. "This is Captain Maya Patel of the Earth ship Horizon. We've come in response to your distress call. Do you read us?" Silence. The crew held their breath, waiting. Seconds ticked by, feeling like hours. Suddenly, the ship's speakers crackled to life. A series of strange clicks and whistles filled the air. "What is that?" Carlos asked, his eyes wide. Dr. Sarah Chen rushed to her console. "It's them. They're responding. But I can't understand it." For the next hour, Sarah and the ship's computer worked to decipher the alien language. The rest of the crew waited anxiously. Finally, Sarah looked up, her face a mix of excitement and disbelief. I think we've got it. They're asking us to dock with their main ship." Maya nodded. "All right, let's do this. Carlos, take us in slow and steady." As Horizon moved closer to the alien mothership, they could see the damage. Parts of the hull were cracked and broken. Lights flickered on and off across its surface. With expert precision, Carlos guided Horizon into a docking port. There was a slight shudder as the ships connected. "We're locked in," Svetlana reported. "Air pressure is stable." Maya stood up, her face serious. "Okay, team. This is it. We're about to meet an alien species. Remember your training. Be cautious, but friendly. We're here to help." The crew made their way to the airlock. As the door slowly opened, they found themselves face to face with the aliens. The sight took their breath away. The aliens were tall, at least 7 feet, with slender bodies that seemed to glow faintly. They had 4 arms and large, almond-shaped eyes that blinked sideways. Their skin was a pale blue, covered in intricate patterns. For a moment, both groups just stared at each other. Then one of the aliens stepped forward. It raised all 4 of its hands, palms out, in what seemed like a peaceful gesture. Dr. Kwame Osai, the team's medical officer and synoviologist, stepped forward to mirror the gesture. "Hello," he said softly. "We come in peace." The alien tilted its head, then made a series of clicks and whistles. Sarah quickly typed on her translator device. "They're saying, 'Welcome, Earth beings. We are the Zorak. Thank you for answering our call,'" Sarah translated. The tension in the air eased a bit. Maya stepped forward. "We're here to help. Can you tell us what happened?" As Sarah translated back and forth, the humans learned the Zorak story. They were explorers, like the humans, but had encountered a strange anomaly in space that damaged their ships and left them stranded. "We've been drifting for what you would call years," the Zorak leader explained through the translator. "Our power is failing. We feared we would die out here, alone in the vastness of space. Then we detected your planet and sent out our call for help. We didn't think anyone would come." The emotion in the alien's voice was clear, even through the translator. The human crew felt a wave of empathy. "Of course we came," Maya said firmly. "On our world, we have a saying, 'No one gets left behind.'" As Sarah translated this, the aliens made a sound that the humans realized was their version of relieved laughter. "Your kindness gives us hope," the Zorak leader said. "But the damage to our ships is severe. Can you truly help us?" Svetlana stepped forward, her eyes shining with determination. "We've brought advanced repair equipment, and we're quick learners. Show us the damage, and we'll fix it together." As the Zorak led them deeper into the ship, the human crew felt a mix of excitement and determination. They had traveled across the stars and made first contact. Now, they had a chance to save an entire alien civilization. It would be challenging, dangerous even. But as they looked at each other, then at their new alien allies, they knew one thing for certain. This was why they had come. This was humanity at its best. The rescue mission was about to begin. The real work began the next day. The Zorak led the human crew through their massive ship, showing them the extent of the damage. It was worse than they had imagined. "Their main power core is nearly dead," Svetlana reported, her face grim. "And the life support systems are failing in several sectors." Maya nodded, taking it all in. "All right, we need a plan. Sarah, work with the Zorak to translate their technical manuals. Carlos and Svetlana, focus on the power core. Kwame, help with life support. I'll coordinate everything." The team got to work. It was challenging. The Zorak technology was far more advanced than anything they had seen before. But the humans were quick learners, and the Zorak were eager to help. Days turned into weeks. The human crew worked tirelessly, often for 18 hours at a stretch. They slept in shifts, eating quick meals of space rations between repair sessions. There were setbacks. One day, while trying to restart a section of the power grid, Carlos accidentally triggered a surge that knocked out life support in an entire deck. No, 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 he yelled, frantically trying to fix his mistake. But before panic could set in, a Zorak engineer stepped in. With its 4 arms moving in perfect coordination, it quickly rerouted power and stabilized the system. Carlos looked at the alien in awe. "Thank you," he said, feeling a new respect for their alien allies. The Zorak made a sound that the translator interpreted as laughter. "We work together," it said simply. As time passed, the humans and Zorak grew closer. They shared stories of their home worlds, compared their cultures, and even tried to teach each other songs. One evening, as they took a rare break, Quaim taught a group of Zorak how to play chess. The aliens were fascinated by the game, quickly grasping complex strategies. "You know," Quaim said, watching a Zorak checkmating another, "I think our species have a lot more in common than we realized." But it wasn't all smooth sailing. About a month into the repairs, a critical system failed. Alarms blared throughout the ship as the artificial gravity began to fluctuate wildly. "We're losing stability," a Zorak technician called out. "If we don't fix this soon, the ship could tear itself apart." Maya's voice came over the comm system, calm but urgent. "Svetlana, Carlos, we need a solution now." Svetlana's mind raced. The Zorak gravity system was beyond anything she had ever worked with. But then she remembered something from her old engineering textbooks. "Carlos," she shouted, "remember the fluctuation dampeners we use in our fusion reactors? If we could adapt that to their system." Carlos's eyes lit up. "Yes, but we'd need to boost the power by at least 300%. We can reroute power from non-essential systems," a Zorak engineer chimed in, catching on to their plan. For the next few hours, humans and Zorak worked side by side, racing against time. Svetlana and Carlos' idea was risky, but it was their only hope. Finally, Svetlana took a deep breath. "Here goes nothing," she said, and flipped the switch. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the ship stabilized. The alarms fell silent. A cheer went up from humans and Zorak alike. They had done it. As the crew celebrated their victory, Maya looked around at her team. They were tired, dirty, and stressed, but their eyes shone with pride and accomplishment. "We're not done yet," she reminded them. "But we've proven that together, there's nothing we can't overcome." The Zorak leader approached Maya, its large eyes blinking with emotion. "Your people have saved us," it said through the translator. "We owe you a debt we can never repay." Maya smiled. "That's not why we came. We came because it was the right thing to do. Because in the face of a vast and often hostile universe, all sentient beings need to stick together." As humans and Zorak continued their work, a new feeling filled the air. It wasn't just about saving a stranded fleet anymore. It was about forging a friendship between two species from different corners of the galaxy. The rescue operation was far from over, but they had overcome their biggest challenge, and in doing so, they had taken the first step towards a new era of interstellar cooperation. After 3 months of hard work, the day finally came. The Zorak fleet was repaired and ready to fly again. Captain Maya Patel stood with her crew and the Zorak leaders, looking out at the restored ships. They all felt a mix of pride, excitement, and a little sadness. "I can't believe it's time to say goodbye," Carlos said softly. The Zorak leader turned to Maya. Its large eyes blinked slowly. "We have decided," it said through the translator, "that we would like to accompany you back to Earth." The human crew was surprised. Sarah asked, "Are you sure?" "It's a long journey." Yes, the Zorak leader replied. We wish to meet your leaders and formally thank your people, and perhaps discuss a more permanent alliance. Excitement filled the air. This was more than they could have hoped for. The journey back to Earth was filled with preparation. Humans and Zorak worked together to send messages ahead, explaining the situation. They also continued to learn from each other, exchanging knowledge about technology, culture, and the universe. As they approached Earth, Quaim looked out the window. I never thought I'd be so happy to see that blue marble, he said with a smile. The arrival of the human ship Horizon, accompanied by the massive Zorak fleet, caused a sensation on Earth. People gathered in crowds to watch the sky. News channels broadcast live footage of the landing. As Maya led her crew and the Zorak representatives out of the ship, they were met with cheers and applause. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. But all fell silent when the Zorak leader stepped forward. It raised all four arms in its species gesture of peace. People of Earth, it said, its words translated and broadcast around the world. We come in peace and gratitude. Your brave explorers saved our people. They showed us the best of what sentient beings can be. In the days that followed, Earth was abuzz with activity. Scientists eagerly studied the advanced Zorak technology. Diplomats worked to establish formal relations, and ordinary people everywhere were fascinated by their new alien friends. But for the crew of Horizon, the most meaningful moment came a week after their return. They were invited to a special ceremony at the United Nations. As they stood on the stage, Maya looked at her team with pride. Sarah, who had bridged the language gap, Svetlana and Carlos, whose quick thinking had saved the Zorak ship, Quaim, who had helped the two species understand each other. The Secretary General of the UN stepped up to the microphone. Today, she said, we honor these brave individuals who have opened a new chapter in human history. They have shown us that our differences, even differences as vast as those between species, can be overcome with courage, compassion, and cooperation. One by one, the crew members were called forward to receive medals. But the biggest surprise came at the end. The Zorak leader stepped forward. In its hands was a small, glowing orb. This, it explained, is our highest symbol of friendship. We present it to humanity, in hopes that this is just the beginning of our journey together. As Maya accepted the orb on behalf of Earth, she felt a sense of awe. They had set out to save a stranded alien fleet. Instead, they had forged a bond between two civilizations. Later that night, the crew of Horizon gathered privately. They shared a meal, laughed about their adventures, and wondered about the future. So, Carlos asked with a grin, who's up for another space mission? They all laughed, but Maya saw the spark of excitement in their eyes. She knew that this was just the beginning. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, full of wonders and challenges they had yet to imagine. As she looked at her friends, human and Zorak alike, Maya felt hopeful. Whatever the future held, they would face it together. And that, she thought, was the greatest adventure of all.